So dear students, in the previous class we had discussed up to maxima and minima, the partial differentiation, okay, the maxima minima of a two variable function we discussed in the previous class. In today's class, yes, good morning everyone, good morning, not good afternoon, it is good morning. In today's class we are going to start the vector calculus now. Vector calculus. Dear students, what we had discussed in the vector calculus is that first of all we defined the del operator. Del operator. It is just like a normal operator, a plus operator, a negative operator, multiplication operator. Just like that we have the del operator. It is given by this, the del. Okay, and del operator is given by I cap dou by dou x plus j cap dou by dou y plus k cap dou by dou z. This is the del operator. So it doesn't have any magnitude, it doesn't have any direction, it is just an operator, right? Neither it has any magnitude, neither it has any direction, it just acts as a operator. After this, we discussed about the gradient f, gradient. Now what is gradient of a function, right? Let us say, you can say a function is given, let us say f is a function which is given to you, right? Now grad f is given by del f, okay, and it is equal to I cap dou f dou x plus j cap dou f dou y plus k cap dou f by dou z. This is what the grad f is all about. So this is the grad f. Clear? And I also told you about the physical significance of grad f also. Physical significance, it basically gives me a vector which is perpendicular to a plane, right? Because this f will be a function of x, y, z. Let us say it is something like this, x, y, z is equal to 5 or x square plus y square plus 2 times of z equal to 11, something. It will be a plane. And the vector which is perpendicular to that plane, for example, this is some plane, the vector which is perpendicular to that plane, the normal vector of that plane, it is basically represented by this grad f. This was the physical significance of grad f. If in question something is given like this, the equation of a plane is given by this is this. The vector which is normal to this particular plane will be, you just calculate the grad f, that will be actually perpendicular to that particular plane. This is the physical significance. Now what is the use of gradient? To calculate the normal vector, we have two uses of gradient. First is to calculate the normal vector. How to calculate the normal vector? Just calculate the grad f. The second use is to get the directional derivative. Directional derivative of a function, of a plane. Now what is this, basically this directional derivative? It is a unit normal vector. It is a unit normal vector, the directional derivative. How do you calculate the unit normal vector? It is equal to this grad f. So this is a vector which is perpendicular to this surface. Some vector will be given to you. Let us say this some vector is given to n vector. Now in question it will be mentioned that calculate the unit normal vector, right? Unit normal vector corresponding to this n vector, means that parallel to this vector we have to calculate a unit vector. How to calculate the unit vector? We know that this is also a vector. Dot means in the same direction, cross means in the perpendicular direction. Dot n vector divided by magnitude of n vector. This is the directional derivative. After this, we discussed about the physical significance of dot product and cross product also. After this, we discussed about the dot product, because here in the directional derivative, dot product will be used. How to calculate the dot product? For example, we have one vector, that is a1 I cap plus b1 j cap plus c1 k cap, and we have one more vector, that is, let us say this is a vector and this is, let us say, b vector. B vector is given by b1 I cap plus not B1, let us say it is A2, let us say A2. A2 I cap plus B2 J cap plus C2 K cap. We have one vector like this. The dot product will be equal to A1 A2 plus B1 B2 plus C1 C2. Clear? So that will be equal to what? The dot product A dot B will be equal to A1 A2 plus B1 B2 plus C1 and C2. This will be the dot product. Similarly, how to calculate the cross product? This also I have told you in the fluid mechanics also. Let us say we have A vector and cross B vector. You just make a determinant of it, that we have I, J, K plus minus plus A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3. That is how we calculate the cross product. This no need to tell you. You already know how to calculate the dot product and the cross product. After this, let us solve a question here. Let us solve a question and completely understand what is the meaning of it. Let us say that a question is there. Let us say that a question is there. Question is, let me take a surface. F is the surface, it is a function of x, y and z. Let us say it is equal to x square yz. Question is, calculate the directional derivative of this. Clear? Along n vector which is given to you as 2i cap plus 4y j cap plus 2z square k cap. Okay, at 1 1 1. Solution. Very easy, right? First of all, calculate. We know that the directional derivative or the unit normal vector, right? Directional derivative, which is the unit normal vector. Directional derivative is given by grad f dot this n vector divided by the magnitude of n vector at the location of what? 1 comma 1 comma 1, 1 comma 1 comma 1. First of all, calculate the grad f. So grad f will be what? Grad f will be equal to I cap dou f by dou x, dou by dou x of x square yz plus j cap dou by dou y of x square yz plus j cap k cap dou by dou z of x square y. So what will it be equal to? Let me do the derivative. It will be I cap 2x yz plus x square z j cap plus x square y k cap. Let me put the value 1 1 1. If you put the value 1 1 1, this grad f at 1 1 1 will be equal to what? It will be equal to 2 I cap plus j cap and plus k cap. This will be the grad f. So we have got the grad f value. Yeah, okay. So that is what the grad f is. Now, how to calculate the directional derivative? Again, very simple. Just take the dot product with respect to the n vector, which is given to you in the question itself, and then you then you divide it with the magnitude of the n vector. Okay. Now, the directional derivative will be equal to grad f, which is 2I cap plus j cap plus k cap dot n vector is 2I cap plus 4y j cap plus 2z square k cap. You can directly put the value of 111 here also, or otherwise by multiplying, after multiplying also you can put the value. Okay, divide by the magnitude of n vector. So it will be equal to what? Let me put the value of 111 here. So it will be equal to 2I cap plus j cap plus k cap dot. Let me put the value 111 here. It will be 2I cap plus 4j cap plus 2k cap. Divide by magnitude of this will be equal to 2 square plus 4 square and plus 2 square. Will be equal to 2 into 2 is 4. Okay, it will be 4 and plus 4 and plus 2 divided by it will be equal to 2 square plus 2 square 4 plus 16 20 and plus 4 root 24. It will be 10 upon root 20. Just solve it, you will get it, right? So that is how we calculate a directional derivative. Similarly, if somebody is saying you calculate the vector which is normal to the surface, right? That will be equal to what? It will be just grad f only. No need to calculate the directional derivative. It will be just grad f only. Okay. Just wait a second. Let me see after this what I taught you. I guess I taught you after this divergence and curl. Let me check it once again. Yes. After this, we discussed about the divergence. Okay, now what is the mathematical expression of divergence? So this is the del operator. We know what is the value of del operator. It is del dot f. Del dot f will give you the divergence. So divergence will give you basically a scalar quantity, not a vector quantity. Directional derivative also gives me a scalar quantity. Okay, grad f gives me a vector quantity. Now what is the physical significance of divergence? So divergence basically will tell you the rate at which the fluid is coming out from a particular surface. For example, some fluid was entering this particular section, let us say it is AA, and this is my BB dash section. Now by how much rate this particular fluid is actually coming out from this particular surface, that is actually represented by this divergence. That is the physical significance of divergence. So how to calculate the divergence? So it will be equal to del dot f. You can also say it is divergence of f. You can also write it like this. Divergence of f will be equal to dou by dou x of f, clear, plus, let us say, let me define this function f as, f1 I cap plus f2 j cap plus f3 k cap, then it will be equal to f1 plus dou by dou y of f2 plus dou by dou z of f3. This will be the divergence. Clear? After this, I told you that about the solenoidal vector. Solenoidal vector. Now, what is solenoidal vector? The divergence of which if the divergence of f it becomes equal to 0, that type of vector is called as the solenoidal vector. In fluid mechanics, we say that the fluid is actually incompressible in nature. Divergence means that the rate by which the fluid was coming here, it is actually equal to the rate by which the fluid is going out. For example, I gave you an example of sunlight. For example, this is my earth, okay, the earth's surface, this is the sun. So some sunlight is coming here. Let us say X amount of sunlight is coming here. After falling on the earth's surface, some sunlight is absorbed by plants, some is absorbed by the earth itself, right? Some absorbed by the human beings, some absorbed by the water bodies, that is sea, etc., etc. And some light is reflected back to the atmosphere. Now, I will say that the divergence of this sunlight will not be equal to 0, because whatever is coming is not going out. Some has been absorbed. There are some losses. But in case of fluid, if the rate of fluid which is coming here it becomes equal to the rate of fluid which it is going out, the divergence is 0. And that type of vector is actually called as the solenoidal vector. And solenoidal, now if the incoming rate becomes equal to the outflow rate, it means that the fluid is not compressible. Because if there is a nozzle, then only the rate of fluid might change. Or if there is some restrictions from the boundaries, then the outflow fluid might change. But if the fluid is incompressible in nature, whatever is coming in, that will go out, right? So that type of vector is called as a solenoidal vector. In fluid mechanics, we say that it is about the incompressible fluid. And recently I told you while explaining this in the class also, that this has been asked in some GATE exam, that a solenoidal vector is called as number 1 incompressible fluid, number 2 compressible fluid, number 3 something, number 4 something. The correct answer will be incompressible fluid in fluid mechanics. Solenoidal vector. So if question is like this, that some f is given and this some alpha is given, and the question is if this vector is solenoidal, calculate the value of alpha. So for that you should know that what is the meaning of solenoidal, right? So first of all, let us say that f is given to you like this. F is equal to 2I cap plus alpha j cap plus 3k cap, okay, and the 2x I cap, and this is, let us say, 2 y square, and this is 3z, right? If it is solenoidal at 1, 1 and 1, let us say, calculate the value of alpha. First of all, put the value, you can just calculate the divergence, right? Divergence of f will be equal to what? It will equal to 2I cap plus alpha 2 alpha y j cap plus 3k cap. Now put the value of 111. So it will be equal to divergence, this will be removed, sorry, this will be j cap will be removed, okay, k cap will be removed, it will be 5 plus 2 alpha y. Let us put the value 1 here, it will be 5 plus 2 times of alpha will be equal to 0, alpha will be equal to minus 5 by 2. So these types of questions are also coming in examination, but for that you should know what is the meaning of solenoidal, okay. After this we discussed about the curl, number 3. After this we discussed about the curl of a vector, and it also gives you a vector quantity. It does not give you a scalar quantity. Gradient gives you a scalar quantity, directional derivative gives you a scalar quantity, as well as the curl gives you a vector quantity. It doesn't give you a scalar quantity. Curl, basically, what is the mathematical expression of curl? Let us say that f is a function, let us say it is given by f1 I cap plus f2 j cap plus f3 k cap, then the curl of f will be represented by del cross f, okay, and it will be equal to I cap, j cap, k cap, dou by dou x, dou by dou I, dou by dou z, f1, f2, f3, determinant. So this is the value of the curl of f. That is how we calculate the curl of f. Now what is the physical significance of curl? It basically gives you about something about the rotational property. If curl is 0, the fluid is irrotational in nature. If the curl is not equal to 0, it is rotational in nature. Rotational means that it is revolving about its own axis. The particles are rotating about the own axis. That is the meaning of rotational. So we discussed about these 3 properties. First one is the gradient, second one is the divergence, and third one is the curl. Okay, let me rub it. After this, students, we discussed about the line integral, surface integral, and the volume integral. Okay, you will get all these things. If and only if, if and only if you have done practice on mathematics and you have solved some questions also at home, right? Then only you will get it. If you are watching this lecture for the very first time, it will be difficult for you to grasp, right? Because I am going very fast. Because for example, this divergence, we have already solved a lot of questions on divergence. Curl, we have already solved a lot of questions on curl in class, right? So this is a quick revision session. So I am just telling you that what we have discussed, okay? So that everything gets refreshed in your mind. If you have not done practice, obviously it will be difficult for you, okay? Then we discussed about the line integral. Now how to calculate the line integral? Let us say some f is given to you as f1 I cap, some f vector is given to you as f1 I cap plus f2 j cap plus f3 k cap. Okay, then the line integral which is given by this, the line integral from a to b, from any portion a to b, it is given by f dot dr vector. So whatever the value will be, that is how we calculate the line integral. Now what is the meaning of line integral? Line integral basically tells you how much work has been done. How much work has been done to take this vector f from a to b. How much work has been done. Clear? For example, this is my a, this is the Cartesian coordinate, this is my point a, and this is my point b, and this is some vector. This is some vector f vector. So how much work has been done by me to take this vector a to position b. Okay, in this particular vector field, how much work has been done, that is the physical significance of the line integral. Now in the line integral, we also solved some questions also. Now if you further solve it, I told you in the complex also that dr vector, or just dr is given by dx I cap plus dy j cap plus dz k cap. If you just put it here, line integral of f dot dr will be equal to f1 dx plus f2 dy plus f3 dz integral. Okay, that is how we calculate the line integral. Let us solve a question. Question is, f vector is given to us as 3x I cap. F vector is given to us as 3x I cap plus 3xy I cap. 3xy. Y is also there. 3xy I cap plus, not plus, minus y square j cap. Not plus, minus y square j cap. Okay. Along, let us say it is y square is equal to 4x. So y square is equal to, let me give you a curve. Y square is equal to, y square is 4x like this, x square is equal to 4ay like this. Let us say it is equal to y is equal to 2x square. Okay. Then we have from 0 0 to 1 0, from 0 0 to 1 0. Now what is the meaning of this? First of all, you draw this curve, then I will tell you what is the meaning of this. So y square is 4x like this, x square is equal to 4ay like this. So the curve will be somewhat like this. Let us put some points. It will be 0 0. If you put 0, it will be 0. Okay. If you put 1, if you put x is equals to 1 here, if you put x is equals to 1 here, 1 0, what it is equal to? Yeah, 1 0. So if you put y equal to 0 here, right, or if you put x is equals to 1 here, from here, let us say it is my 1 comma 0. If you put 1 here, it will be just 2. It will be 1 comma 2, somewhat like this. Clear? Now what is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is that some vector field is given to you. It might be some electric field, it might be some magnetic field, whatever the field is, some field is given to you. Then we have to move a particle, it can be any particle, right? We have to move a particle and we have to calculate how much work has been done in moving the particle from 0 0 to 1 0 along this route. Along this route, how much work has been done in moving a particle from this location to this location, because this 1 comma 0 is given to you, right? How much work has been done in moving this particle in this particular field along this particular route. That is the question basically. So whenever this type of question is put in the examination, just calculate the line integral. That is, in this question, it was not written calculate the work done, it was just to calculate the line integral along this path. F dot dr along A to B, from A to B. Now, how to solve these types of questions? Either you convert everything into x, or you convert everything into y, because it will be difficult for you to solve these types of questions if you have two variables, because we have dx and dy. The only trick is either you convert everything into x or you convert everything into y. Let me convert. So let me first of all write it. So it will be equal to f1 is 3xy, okay, it will be dx minus integral from y square, just write like this, yes, y square, it will be dy. From where to where? From y, along this y is equals to 2x square, we have to move. Now, if you move y is equal to 2x square, dy will be equal to 4x dx. 4x dx, that will be equal to dy. So, what I feel is that putting dy is equals to 4x dx is much easier as putting some other value. So, what I will be doing is that I will be converting everything into x, and x goes from 0 to 1. X goes from 0 to 1. So, x goes from 0 to 1. Now, 3x into y. Now, what is this y? Y is equal to 2x square. 2x square dx minus y square. Now, what is this y square? It will be 4x raised to the power 4 into dy is 4x dx. I have converted everything into just x only. It will be integral from 0 to 1, 3 into 2 is 6x cube dx minus 16 x raised to the power 5 dx. Just now solve it. 6x raised to the power whole 4 upon 4 from 0 to 1 minus 16 x raised to the power whole 6 divided by 6 from 0 to 1. It will be equal to 6 by 4 minus 16 by 6. Let me take some LCM. 4 into 2 is 8. Let me take 12 as the LCM. It will be 12 minus 32. It will be equal to minus 20 divided by 12. So 2 into 10 is 20, 2 into 6 is 12, or you can say 4 into 3 is 12, 4 into 5. So minus 5 by 3 is equal to minus 5 by 3 will be the correct answer of this question. Let me see whether I have done some calculation mistake. Minus 74 by 30. Let me check it whether I have done some calculation mistake or not. It will be 6x raised to the power 4 divided by 4 minus 6x to the power 6 divided by 6. Our lower limit will be 0. Upper limit will be 6 by 4 minus 16 by 6. 6 by 4 minus 16 by 6. Let me take 12 as the LCM. If you take 12 as the LCM, it will be equal to 18. Sorry, 18. Oh, this is 18. Sorry, this is 18. 18 and it will be 32, right? It will be equal to what? It will be equal to minus 10 will be equal to 22. 22 minus 8, it will be 14. So 14 by 12, right? 14 by 12. It will be minus 14 by 12. There is some calculation mistake here. It will be minus 14 by 12. Minus 14 by 12 will be equal to 2 into 6 is 12. 2 into 7 is 14. That is minus 7 by 6 will be the correct answer. Clear? So that is how we have to proceed in these types of questions. Do not fall and prey with that. So I have done some calculation mistake. It is minus 18, not 12. It is 18 minus 32, not 12 minus 32. 18 minus 32, and ultimately you will be getting minus 14 by 12 minus 7 by 6. Okay. So now what is the trick to solve the line integral? And not just line integral, even in the surface integral and volume integral, the only trick is that you convert everything into one variable. Whatever you feel is that it is much easier, you convert everything into that variable. That will be a very easy step for you. Otherwise, it will be very difficult, right? Yes, Bunty, minus 7 by 6 is the correct answer. Very good. After this, we discussed about the surface integral. Let me rub it. Then we discussed about the surface integral. And I told you that while doing the surface integral and after this we have the volume integral, you should have some imagination, because now we are moving to 3D. Till now everything was in 2D, so it is very simple. And line integral is the simplest integral. So you just saw that line integral is the simplest integral. That is why with the help of some theorem, that is we have the Green's theorem, the Stokes theorem and the Gauss divergence theorem, we try to convert these integrals into simpler portions or simpler parts. Now surface integral, the integral which is done over a surface, for example some sphere is there, some cylinder is there, the integral which you do along the surface, that is what the surface integral. What is the physical significance? It gives you the flux per unit area, or it just gives you flux. It just gives you flux. Or flux per unit surface area also you can calculate, flux per unit surface area. Now what is the meaning of flux? How many magnetic lines or how many electric lines are basically coming out of a particular surface, that is the meaning of flux. Okay. For example, how many lines, how many magnetic field lines or the electric field lines are basically coming out from this particular area, that is what is called as the flux. For example, a sphere is this, but the field lines are going like this. They are not coming inside it, they are just going outside it. So I will say that the surface integral will be 0. Of this particular vector, the surface integral will be 0. If the field lines are going inside it, it will obviously not be equal to 0. There will be some value of the surface integral. How to calculate the surface integral? Let us say that some vector is given to you, vector field is given f1 I cap plus f2 j cap plus f3 k cap, some vector field is given to you. Then the surface integral is given by two integral along the surface S. It can be a sphere, it can be a cylinder, whatever type of surface 3D is. It is given by f dot ds, f dot ds, and it can be written as double integral of along the surface n f dot n cap ds, f dot n cap ds, where ds is n cap ds, where ds vector is n cap ds. Because a vector can be easily represented by its unit vector multiplied by the magnitude, right? For example, if somebody is saying that we have a vector that is ds vector, so I will say that ds vector will be equal to the magnitude into direction, clear? Or magnitude into unit vector, direction means the unit vector gives you the direction, unit vector gives you the direction. So for example, this is some surface, I will take that there is a very small surface dx dy dz, or you can say just dx dy, right? So that this ds will be equal to what? It will be equal to dx I cap plus dy j cap, or I will say that it is just equal to its magnitude. Magnitude is, let us say, ds. dx dy is the magnitude. Clear? Into unit vector, into the unit vector. Simple. I can also write it like this, where ds is equals to dx dy or dy dz, depending upon on which plane you want the projection. If you want the projection on the xy plane, it will be dx dy. Z will be constant. If you want the projection in the xz plane, dx dz, y will be constant. So depending upon that, you have the various values of dx and dy. Let us solve a question directly. Now, how to solve this surface integral? Now, see, dear students, what do we do is that, for example, you want to calculate my surface area. You want to calculate my surface area. So, what do I say? Okay, you take my projection on this board, you take my left side projection on this board, right side projection on this board, and you drop a light from the back. You put a screen in front of me, some projection will be this. You just calculate the projection area of the front, projection area of the back, projection area of the left and right. You add all these projection areas and you will be getting the surface area of my body. So that is what the basic of this surface integral, that is how we calculate the surface integral. That is why what we are doing is that, for example, this is my x, this is my y, and this is my z, this type of surface, three-dimensional surface is this, right? So first of all, you calculate the projection on the xy plane, dx dy, you calculate the surface area, right? Surface area will be somewhat like this. Then you calculate the surface area here, then you calculate the surface area in other coordinate. You add all these surface area and you will be getting the surface area or the surface integral of that particular body, right? Irregular body. Let us solve a question directly to further understand this concept. How do we calculate the surface integral? Question is, I guess this we also solved in the class also, but if not, let me again solve it here. We have to calculate a double integral on the surface S, then we have this f vector dot ds vector, okay, where f vector is equal to 18z I cap 18z I cap minus 12j cap and plus 3yk cap plus 3yk cap. And along what surface? Along this surface, S is equals to 2x plus 3y plus 6z is equal to 0. Along this surface we have to calculate it, is equal to 12, not 0 I guess, it is equal to 12, sorry, it is equal to 12. Not 0, it is equal to 12. And it is written that in the first octant, we have to calculate the surface integral of this in the first octant. Now how to proceed in the first octant? First of all, let me draw this solution. In the first octant we have to calculate. Now what is the first octant? Let us say this is my x, this is my y, and this is my z here. In the xy plane, you put z equal to 0. If you put z equal to 0 in the xy plane, you will be getting 2x plus 3y is equal to 12. It will be a straight line here. Now it will be intersecting this y plane at, if you put x is equal to 0 at 4. So this will be 0, 0, 4. At this plane, 2x plus 3y is equal to 12. Put y equal to 0, x equals to 6. 0, not 0, that is 6, 6 0 0. It will be 0 4 0 0 4 0 straight line like this. Let me talk about this XZ plane. Here's a three-dimensional thing. Try to understand it. Imagination. XZ plane. XZ plane y will be equal to 0. If y will be equal to 0, it will be 2x plus 6y is equals to 12, right? Put x is equals to 0 here. If you want to calculate this, x is equals to 0 here. If you put x is equals to 0 here, z will be equal to 2. So there will be a line that is 0, 0 and 2. Clear? Now XZ plane you put z equal to 0, that we have already discussed. Okay. Now this YZ plane, in YZ plane x will be equal to 0. It will be 3y plus 6z equal to 12. You put y equal to 0. If you put y equal to 0, it will be 2. That is correct. Now let me join it. It will be 4. Let me join it like this. So we have got a surface like this. So it is a plane. It is a plane. Try to imagine it, right? Try to imagine it. For example, this is my y, this is my x, and this is my z, somewhat like this, and it is a plane going like this. So we have to calculate the surface integral along this plane. Along this plane we have to calculate the surface integral of which vector? Of this vector. There is some vector, right? We have to calculate that what will be the surface integral along this plane of this particular vector. You can consider this vector to be a vector field, whatever you want to consider it. It's a vector field, and then you have to calculate how much flux of this vector field is coming out. Let us say it is some electric field. Now this is a plane. How much electric field is coming out from this particular surface area? That is what we have to calculate actually. Okay. So how do we proceed in these types of questions? Applying the basic concept of double integral of S f dot ds vector. It will be equal to what? Let me take everything on the xy plane. Everything on the xy plane, z will be equal to 0 on the xy plane. So it will be equal to f dot n cap ds, double integral. Now what will be this ds? ds will be equal to dx dy. If it is a, which type of plane? If it is a xy plane, it will be equal to cap of I cap k cap. Sorry, my return here, sorry. Let me directly write the value of this n cap. Now what is this n cap? N cap can be easily calculated by, we have to calculate a unit vector. It can be easily calculated by, grad f dot n vector dot magnitude of n vector will be the unit vector. Let us say this is that n vector, whatever it is. So it will be equal to what? Let me first of all calculate this grad f. Now what is this grad f? This is the function which is given. So function is given to me as 2x plus 3y plus 6z minus 12. Let us say it is some function. Okay, function of x, y, z. Now grad f will be equal to 2 times of I cap plus 3 times of j cap plus 6 times of k cap. Clear? Dot this n vector. Dot this n vector. Now what is this n vector? Now grad f dot n vector will be equal to what? 36z minus 12, 36 and plus 18. This is 3 times of y here. So 6 and 3, 18 times of y. 18 times of y. That is what grad f dot this is. Clear? Divided by, now n unit vector will be equal to grad f dot n vector divided by mod of grad f. That is the unit vector which is perpendicular to the surface, right? That will be equal to what? It will be equal to 36z minus 36 plus 18 type of y divided by grad f mod will be equal to what? Now what is this grad f? Grad f is this. The mod of this will be equal to 3 into 6, 9, 9 plus 36 and plus 4. It will be 49, 49 under root, 49 under root, 49 under root. It will be equal to 7. So 36 z minus 36 plus 18 times of y divided by 7 will be the n unit vector. Now what is this ds? ds will be equal to dx dy. ds will be equal to dx dy. Since I am taking the projection on the xy plane, dx dy divide by mod of n cap dot this will be equal to z. This will be equal to z, that is k cap. So it will be equal to dx dy divided by n cap dot k cap. N cap dot k cap. K cap means that the last term which we are talking about, n cap is this thing, right? N cap is this thing. The last term, sorry, n cap is this, okay. The last term will be equal to what? It will be equal to n cap is this. It will be equal to this, n cap is this thing. Then we have 6 into 1 by 7, 6 into 1 by 7, 6 into 1 by 7, that is 6 by 7. 6 by 7. Clear? Yeah, आप इसको मिटा भी सकते. You can also rub this grad of f dot n vector. You can also rub this. But there is no need. You can rub this, okay, to avoid the confusion. Otherwise, there will be a little bit confusion here. To avoid the confusion, you can also rub this. I can directly write this, that n cap will be equal to grad of phi divided by mod of phi. Just remember like this. So it will be equal to what? Grad phi. Just we calculate the value of grad phi. It will be equal to 2 times of I cap plus 3 times of j cap plus 6 times of k cap divided by 7. Just remember it like that. Otherwise, there will be a little bit confusion. Just remember it like this. So we have to calculate the unit normal vector along this surface. That will be equal to what? That will be equal to grad phi vector which is perpendicular to the surface divided by the magnitude, that will be unit normal vector to the surface. So now let me put everything here in this equation. Let me put everything here. So this double integral of f dot ds, it will be equal to, f is what? 18 times of z minus 12 times of j and plus 3 times of y dot n cap dot ds. N cap is this thing, dot ds. So 7 will get cancelled out at the bottom, right? And it will be just 2 I cap plus 3 j cap plus 6 k cap divided by 6. You further solve it and you will be getting, let me take 1 by 6 common here. It will be double integral along the surface S. 18 into 2 is 36 minus 36. This is 36z minus 36 and plus 18y dx dy. So this whole thing has been converted into this simple thing. Now we have dx dy, again the same thing, right? If we are moving in the y plane only, then we have to convert each and everything along this, either in x or in y, everything either in x or in y. Now with the help of this plane, because in the xy plane z will be equal to 0, and you will be left with this equation, that is 2x plus 3y is equal to 12. Okay. Now with the help of this, you can easily solve it. Or what you can do is that x is going from, in this plane, x is going from 0 to 6, right? Y is going from 0 to 4, right? You can take a strip here. Let me write it like this. You can take a strip here. Let us say this is the strip which you have taken in the xy plane. This is a strip that you have taken. This is my dy. This is my dx. Clear? A strip has been taken at z equal to 0. Clear? Now, x is going from 0 to 6. Y is going from 0 to 4. Right? Y is going from 0 to 4. Not 0 to 4. Y is going from 0 to this line. Now, what is this line? If you put z equal to 0, this line is y is equal to 12 minus 2x divided by 3. So y is going from 0 to this line, that is 12 minus 2x divided by 3, and with the help of that you can solve this equation very easily. Now let me tell you how to solve this equation. So this is the ultimate equation that we have got. Let me rub this from here. Let me rub this. Clear? Now let me rub it, let me draw it here. So this is the plane which I am talking about. This is a line which is going, the equation of this line is, if you put z equal to 0, 2x plus 3y is equal to 12 here. The equation of this line is 2x plus 3y is equal to 12 is the equation of this line. You have taken a very small strip. This is my dx and this is my dy. Okay. X is going from 0 to 6, right? This is 6, 0, 0, 0 to 6. And y is going from 0 to, in the first octet I am talking about, 0 to this line. 0 to this line will be equal to 12 minus 2x divided by 3. 12 to 2x minus 3. Clear? Now, let me take 6 common here. If you take 6 common, this will be cancelled out. Double integral of 6 times of z minus 6 plus 3 times of y dx dy. Now, how to eliminate this z? So, z can be easily eliminated by the equation of this thing, right? So 6 times of z is equal to 12 minus 2 times of x minus 3 times of y and divided by 6. Divided by 6. So z can be easily eliminated by, if you just put it here, it will be double integral of 6 times of 12 minus 2 times of x minus 3 times of y divided by 6 minus 6 and plus 3y. And what is the value of this y? If you put z equal to 0 here, the value of this y is 12 minus 2x divided by 3 plus 3 times of 12 minus 2x divided by 3. Yes, that is dx and dy. X is going from 0 to 6 and y is going from 0 to, we have 12 minus 2x divided by 3. 12 minus 2x divided by 3. So 3 gets cancelled out from here, 6 gets cancelled out from here. It will be double integral of 3y, not 3y, this is 2x, sorry, this, yes, 2x and 2x, this is minus 6 here, so it will be 6 minus, double in from 0 to 6, 0 to, we have 12 minus 3, 12 minus, is it 3x? Yeah, 12 minus 2x, not 3x, 12 minus 2x divided by 3, 12 minus 2x divided by 3. So we have 6 got cancelled out. Then we have this 6, right? We have this 6. So minus 6 plus 12 is plus 6. So plus 6, and this is, I guess there is some mistake here. Let me check it. There is some mistake here. This is 12 minus 3x minus 3y. And this is minus 6 plus 3y. Minus 6 and plus 3y. Okay, so there is no need to convert it because this 3y will get cancelled out here. Yes, correct. 6 plus 3y dx dy. 6 cancel out, 3y and 3y gets cancelled out from here. It will be just what? It will be just 6 minus 2x. It will be just 6 minus 2x dx dy. 6 minus 2x dx dy. That is the final expression. Okay. Now just put the value of x and y. Just put the limits of x and y, and the ultimate answer you will be getting is 24. Let me directly write the answer. The ultimate answer that you will be getting is 24. I hope that you know how to solve the double integral and the triple integral. That is a very simple thing, right? Double integral and triple integral. How to solve the values of this double integral. First of all, you integrate with respect to y. You put the limit as this 12 minus 2x divided by 3. And then you integrate with respect to x and you put the limit from 0 to 6. Ultimately, you will be getting 24 as the correct answer. That is how we have to solve the questions of the double integral. Similarly, we can solve the questions of volume integral or the triple integral also. I am just writing the expression, not writing the whole thing, just writing the expression for the triple integral that we have already discussed in the class also. After this, we discussed about the volume integral. The volume integral is also calculated in the same way. Either you convert everything into x or everything into y. Just writing the expression of it. And what does it give me? The physical significance is giving the mass of a particular body. Okay, so triple integral along this volume V of f dot v dv. F dot dv. It is given by integral of f1 x cap, I cap plus f2 j cap plus f3 k cap. Then we have dx, dy and dz along this particular volume. That is how we calculate the volume integral. Not going to solve question because again it will be a very lengthy question. It will be solved similarly the fashion that we have solved the volume surface integral. It can also be written as divergence of V dv. No, sorry, not divergence of v, divergence of f dv. It can also be written as like this. Okay, I guess this question also has been asked in examination. It is important that how do we calculate the volume integral. It can also be written as divergence of v dv. Then we solved some questions on this also, the how to calculate the volume integral, not going in detail in that. After this we discussed about the Green's theorem. Now what is the Green's theorem? Let me rub it. Green's theorem. So it is basically used to convert a line integral into a surface integral. How can we convert a line integral into a surface integral? So integral of c, the expression is integral of c f1 dx plus f2 dy. Just look at the variations, how it is varying, f1 dx plus f2 dy, and c is a continuous contour, right? C is a continuous contour or a continuous curve. It is given by double integral along the region R. Okay, dou f2 divided by dou x minus dou f1 divided by dou y dx dy. That is what it is all about. For example, these are the Cartesian coordinates, okay, and you have to find f1 dx, and then you have to go f2 dy along this curve C, in the anti-clockwise manner. Why anti-clockwise? I told you the reason also, that in the Cartesian coordinates we take angles anti-clockwise to be as positive, and that is why everything is calculated in the anti-clockwise manner. So it is like this. Then either you calculate this f1 dx plus f2 dy plus so on along this curve C, or you calculate the area of this region, right? Area of this region along this region R, and this, that will have the same value. And I also told you that if you are going in the clockwise manner, then sign will change. It will be negative. Remember it, right? If you are going in the clockwise manner, because that is a traditional method that we always go in the anti-clockwise manner, but if you are going in the clockwise manner, the sign will change. So dou f2 upon dou x. So what we had dy here, we have dou x here. What we had dou x here, or we have dx here, we have dou y here, and then we have a negative sign. So second minus first. That is how you can remember it, because it is important. The sign is important. So that is what the Green's theorem is. And then we also solved some questions, also verify Green theorem, or there was a very simple question of line integral we converted into a surface integral, and then we solved the question also. So we have solved different types of questions on this particular topic. After this we discussed about the Stokes theorem. Number B was Stokes theorem. It is also used to simplify the double integral values, because you know that in double integral sometimes it becomes very difficult. So to simplify the double integral, there is a theorem which is given by Stokes, that is line integral along the C, curve C, f dot dr, it can also be written as the surface integral along this curve S, curl of f dot n vector ds. It can also be represented like this. So for example, something is given like this, line integral, but you find that it can be easily solved by surface integral, you can apply it like this. Or if there is some vector which you feel that this is difficult to solve with the help of surface integral, you can convert it into a line integral and you can solve it. So we have different methods to solve the this particular surface integral and the line integral. After this, students, we discussed about, then we have already solved a few questions also. We solved some questions on the polar coordinates also. And after this, we solved the Gauss divergence theorem. C was the Gauss divergence theorem. Gauss divergence theorem. Divergence theorem. So if some f vector is given to you, as f1 I cap plus f2 j cap plus f3 k cap, if some f vector is given to you, then it can be used to convert a surface integral into a line integral. The surface integral, that is f dot ds vector, it can be converted into a line integral, that is divergence of f dv. Divergence of f dv. So this is used to convert a surface integral into a volume integral, right? This is used to convert a line integral into, or vice versa also, into a surface integral, and this is basically used to convert a line integral and vice versa into a surface integral. Now the question is, sir, which theorem should we use in examination? Now see, students, if the vector is given to you in this form, f1 dx plus f2 dy, you use the Green's theorem. If there is no form given, if it is just like integral of this f dot dr, apply the Stokes theorem, okay? And if some you can say typical you can say line integral, typical surface integral is given to you, which is difficult to solve, because we know that in calculating the value of this ds, it is difficult actually, right? First of all, you have to calculate this n unit vector, right? First of all, you have to calculate this n unit vector, right? That is f dot ds can be represented as double integral of f dot n vector ds, right? And this ds, it is given by dx dy upon n cap dot k cap, or ds can be given by dx dz. If you are taking the xz plane, n cap into j cap, and ds is given by dy dz n cap dot I cap. So it is difficult to solve this, right? But with the help of the Gauss divergence theorem, you can easily solve, because divergence of any function will be a scalar function. Clear? So once you have got the divergence, dv will be equal to dx dy dz. You can convert everything into one variable, you can easily solve it with the help of Gauss divergence theorem. So what I believe is that if some question is given to you on the Stokes theorem, right, some surface integral is given, converted into a volume integral. It will be very simple. You just try it, it will be very simple. So these are the three theorems that we have already discussed in the class, and based on the Gauss divergence theorem, we solved around 3 or 4 numericals in the class, and we also solved some questions on the Stokes theorem also, that I am not going to solve again, because these are lengthy questions. That is why I am not going to solve these questions again. So this was about the calculus part that we discussed. So starting from the basic calculus, the Lagrange mean value theorem, Rolle's mean value theorem, after that we moved to the various expressions, the Taylor series, the Maclaurin series, the limit, continuity and differentiability, total differentiation, partial differentiation, maxima, minima, all these concepts. Then we moved to the vector calculus, and now we have finished the vector calculus also. Obviously not going to solve numericals on Green theorem, the Stokes theorem and the the Gauss divergence theorem, that I have already solved in the classes. Clear? Now dear students, after this calculus portion, we started the linear algebra, right? Linear algebra, in which we had the matrices and determinants. That was a very simple topic. Now let us understand the matrices and determinants. Oh, let me do one thing. If you are feeling bored right now, right? Because it is 12:18, so I start the class at 11, so it is not much time. Okay, let me continue. I will give you a break at 12:30, 10 or 15 minutes of break at 12:30. I'm again telling you, if you have done some practice, then it will be very simple for you, right, to grasp all these things. But if you have not done practice and if you have not watched the main lectures that we have discussed in the classes, obviously it will be difficult for you. Okay, so in the linear algebra, we started with the matrices. Now, what is a matrix and what is determinant? I'm not going to tell you again. It is a representation of row and columns, right? The horizontal rows, the horizontal numbers, the horizontal lines are called as the rows, and the vertical lines are called as the columns. It can be a square matrix, it can be a rectangular matrix. If the number of row equal to number of column, that is a square matrix. If it is not equal, it is a rectangular. That I'm not going to tell you again, right? So the important thing is that in various types of matrix, we discussed about the square matrix, we discussed about the skew matrix, the skew symmetric, right? All these things we discussed, but the important thing which I want to repeat, the important types of matrix is first of all a singular matrix. So there might be a question in examination on singular matrix. Now what is a singular matrix? If the determinant of a matrix A is equal to 0, that type of matrix is called as a singular matrix. Okay. After this, we discussed about the identity matrix. Identity matrix. So now what is an identity matrix? If the principal diagonal has some elements and the other elements are 0, 0, 0, it is a square matrix, by the way. It is a square matrix. Okay. This type of matrix is called as the identity matrix, and the principal diagonal has the element as 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Other elements are 0. Then we discussed about the upper triangular matrix. Upper triangular matrix. A matrix, okay, it is also a type of, you can say, square matrix. A matrix in which you have the elements like this 1, 5, 1, right? 0, 1, 2, then we have 0, 0, 5, something like this. This type of matrix is called as the upper triangular matrix. Then we have the lower triangular matrix. It means that the elements which are below the principal diagonal are actually equal to 0. In the lower triangular matrix, the elements which are above the principal diagonal will be equal to 0. That matrix is called as the lower triangular matrix. Just wait a second. Okay, after this we discussed about the main matrix, singular matrix, identity matrix. Then we have the upper triangular, lower triangular. Then we discussed about the Echelon form, Echelon, Echelon form. Now what is an Echelon form? It is also a type of upper triangular matrix, but the principal diagonal, it always starts with 1. For example, we can have a matrix 1, 5, 8, 2, 5, 6. Then we have 0. It will be 0. And it can also be 0. It can also be 0. But the first element will always start with 1. Then all the other elements 0, 0, 0. From here we should also have 0. But the next element of this row we should start with 1. 1, let us say 5, 8, 2, 3, 6, something. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then it can be 0 here. But whatever the first element, that should be 1. This type of form is called as Echelon form. It can be possible in square matrix also, it is possible in non-square matrix also. After this, we discussed about the orthogonal matrix. Orthogonal is also important. Many questions have been asked in orthogonal also. If A into A transpose, it becomes equal to an identity matrix. Identity matrix, that type of matrix is called as a orthogonal matrix. For example, you do the transpose of this, okay? And if you get the transpose of a particular matrix and you multiply with that matrix itself, then you are getting an identity matrix. That type of matrix is called as the orthogonal matrix. After this matrices, we discussed about the row and column transformations. Row and column transformations. Now what are the rows and columns transformation? I told you that if some row is given to you and some column is given to you, you can transform all these things, right? R2 tends to R2 minus 2 times of R1, R3 tends to this, that. One common mistake which students are making is that always apply the row and column transformations one by one. Do not, for example, a matrix A is given to you like this: 1, 5, 6, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. You are applying this, R1 changes to R1 minus R3. Do not make this again that R3 changes to R3 minus R2. Do not apply this type of transformation that you are subtracting R3 also and then you are changing R3 also. Do not apply this. Either you first of all apply this or you first of all apply this. This is the very common mistake students are making. Clear? Always go step by step. Otherwise you will make calculation mistakes. Okay, now let us take a 20 minutes of break here, students. Let us meet at, it's 12:30 now, let us meet at 12:50. Let us meet at 12:50 and we will again continue with this topic, that is the matrices and determinants. After matrices and determinants, we will be discussing about the numerical methods. The numerical methods. After the numerical methods, we will be discussing about the differential equations. After differential equation, the last topic we will be discussing about the probability and statistics. Stats. So these are the 3 topics left. After this, it's a very short topic. In this, we will be discussing about the rank of the matrix, and we have the Gauss elimination method, Gauss-Jordan method. After this, we will be starting with the numerical method, the differential equations, and the last one is the probability and stats. Or first of all, we can discuss this differential equation, and after that, the numerical method, and the last one is the probability and stats. Okay. So let us meet after 20 minutes. Let us meet at 12:50 now. Okay. Thank you, everyone.